Okay, so there was just a couple of other things I forgot to show you there. So just when I'm going to be starting, I'm going to be starting building in the front view on this plane, as I said. But so I don't keep selecting this plane or this plane. What I'm going to do is just freeze them, and to do that you need to just right click on them and press freeze selection. But if you do that, they're going to show up in grey like this, so you won't be able to see the picture. So what you have to do is right click and go to object properties. So let me just unfreeze that, and then you go to object properties, and down here where it says show frozen gray, just unclick that and press OK. And it's the same for this, and we can do it there, and then just grab the two of them and just say freeze selection, and now I can't click them at all or anything, so I could just start building on it. So I'm going to start with a box. I'm going to do auto grid, and that just means I'll build on top of the plane. So if I drag a box out, say from here to here, I'm going to begin getting, I'll convert it to an editable poly, and then go into vertex mode, where I can grab the vertex and move them around to match what's behind, you know, the actual seat itself. But in order to see it properly, you're just going to have to press Alt X, which makes it go invisible or transparent, so you can see the actual structure behind the box. Or you can do this sort of plane either, which will actually be easier to see, and then you can extend it into a box if you want. So if I had it as a plane, it would look like this. So if I just drew it from here to here, and then if I turn that invisible, it would look like this. Or to do an editable poly, go to vertex mode, and then I'm actually just, it's completely see-through, so I can work away with whatever I'm doing here. And do things like go to edge mode, and I can connect the edges into whatever amount I want. So if I wanted to do, say, 3 here, do them. Go to vertex mode, and let me see, put that back. Need to move these in, say, these in, these in, and so on, as I would be doing it in order to get it right. I can just like build out from here then as well. If I want to say create more edges, and so on, and just build it out then. And once you're done with that, you can press Alt and X again to make it back to the correct viewpoint, or make it visible again. So if you don't see it like this and it looks a bit weird on yours, it might be because you're in realistic. So realistic will look obviously the same most of the time, but like in this mode it'll still be grey even though it's transparent. If I go into shaded, it just means it's going to be see-through as well, so it's much easier to work that way, I find. So that's all. Okay guys, welcome back. So basically the chair is now modelled. So you can see from the front view it's pretty accurate, and then from the left view as well it's pretty accurate. So I'm happy with it. So the next step, pretty much now that it's modelled, is just to unwrap it. So I'm just going to show you how I would unwrap stuff, at least. Like, I know each unwrap is going to be different, but just the way I think about it and the elements I'd use from 3ds Max. So I'm just going to isolate a section, because like this whole chair has been modeled in sections based on, obviously, like in the reference images and stuff, that this is a separate piece of wood to this as well. So modeling it that way is a nicer way of thinking about it a lot of the time. So I'm just going to take the back piece and show you how I would unwrap this. So we know from the reference image that this is going to be, the cushion part is going to be a different texture in color and material to the actual back part, which is going to be the wood. So when we think about that, it's a good idea to separate those two, because It's not essential, but certainly when you're looking for places to separate it, that's a good way to start, is actually by material. So first thing I would do is if you click this little bulb, sorry, if you click this little bulb down here, it'll isolate the area. Okay, so once you have that isolated, to unwrap it, we're going to use two modifiers. The first one is this one here, and I'll just show you that in the list. So if you go down the bottom of the list, it's under here, it's under UVW mapping clear. So if you apply that first, and then the unwrap UVW, which again is just above that in the actual modifier list. So it's here. So you have them stacked like this, that the unwrap is on top and the mapping clear is on bottom. Now if you don't have them, or sorry, if you don't have the mapping clear, which not a lot of people seem to use first off, is when you just put this on, it's going to have these green lines, which is 3ds Max trying to work out where you might want to put the seams yourself, or it's trying to automatically do it for you in a way. So it's like, okay, well, they think the best guess for this is here. So if you just want to unwrap your own one and you don't want to go by their guidelines in any way, just put on UVW map and clear first, and that'll get rid of those green lines. So you can start from afresh. So under the unwrap UVW, there's the same as the edit poly, has three selections here. That's vertices, edges, and polygons. So we're going to be working with edges. So as I said, we want to cut out the different material from the wood. So we're going to start with this seam, and we're just going to loop it. Now it's going to be separated because of the way I built it, but that's fine. Just select these, and this button here is a loop, this one is a ring. The ring would actually say if I press ring on this, it would do all the ones that are parallel to it in that way, whereas loop actually does the same edge loop. So press that, and it has it fully circled there to cut out. So to cut it out, what we're going to press is this button here, which is convert edge to selection to seams. So that'll go blue once I press that, and that is that section cut out now. And I know that, and I'll show you when I open it up in the UV on the editor as to why that's separate, or how it's separate. So the other thing I'm going to do for this part is, just so it stretches out a bit more evenly on the flat, is that I'm going to cut each one of these edge kind of straight edges. So the best way for me to select them is that ring button, which is here. So I'll just do that, and it'll ring them all, and then I'm going to convert those. So that just means that when I'm actually stretching it out on a 2D plane, that these parts will separate and push out a little bit, and it'll look better. Other than that, I'm going to, the best way I can do this is separate the front from the back, and probably separate this frame as well, just because of the shape of the actual model. It's awkward in a lot of ways. So again, I'm just going to select the edges and loop them together, and that forms one solid piece, and then I'm going to convert that, and the same on the back. And convert that, and the last piece I'm going to do is just click this one and this one on the frame and convert those, so that way this kind of band will be out and this band will be separately out, and then I'll be able to stack them on top of each other and just use the same texture space. Okay, so once we have that done, we can see that the back is going to be separate, the sides, this front piece, and then the actual cushion itself. So the way to bring that into a 2D surface is basically you press the polygon button, and this box here with a little checkbox pretty much says select by element, which if you click that, it pretty much means every polygon is going to be selected, or every edge is going to be selected, or every vertice, so whatever way you want it. So I'm going to go work with polygons, so select all the polygons, and then press this button here, which is open UV editor, or you can just press this button, which is quick peel, but we should open this first, just for showing you. So we'll open up and there's our model, pretty much on this 0 on 1 map. And if we press this button, which is the same as this button, it's just repeated over here in a separate window, it's going to peel it out based on the edges that we're already after selecting. So we'll do hit quick peel and it'll look like that, and then if we hit this button, which is packing, it's going to pack it inside this 0 on 1 map the best way it can. I'm just going to maximize this actually. So this is the button here, so we'll pack it in there, and that's the way it's going to look. Now that's not ideal for us because we can actually alter this ourselves to make it look a bit better and yeah, fit the actual map a little bit better. So I'm going to click this button again down here because this is actually a separate way of doing it. See, it is selected here, but in here it's not selected, so you may select it in here as well. Maximize that again, and I'm actually going to move these out of the 0 on 1 map because I think it's easier to see them. So I'm going to select this first and I'm going to straighten it up. So up here you have the same as out there, you have move, rotate, scale. Then this one is kind of free form, so it allows you to do all of that, but just depending on what point on the actual box you hover over, it gives you different options. So this one's rotate, this one's scale, rotate as well as all the middle ones. So I'm just going to rotate this to get it a little bit straighter, and as you can see my angle snap is actually still on from the outside of this window. So if I press A, or again that's here on the outside, if I turn that off, that means I can get a little bit finer kind of rotation with that, so I can straighten it up a bit more. And the same here, just so it's a little bit straighter. This one I'm going to turn angle snaps back on, just press an A again, and I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. And this one I'm going to overlay. Now you remember, now this one is the front frame, front of the wooden frame, so that's there. This one is the cushion, this one is the back, and these are the two frame sides. So I'll just maximize this again. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to drag this over this and align them. So that means that when I'm texturing here, the texture for the wooden frame on the front is going to be the same as the rim of the wooden frame on the back. Now you're not really going to see it that often, so that's why I'm covering them over, because it's going to be just a standard wood. You'd have to look very closely into it to see that there, oh my god, that's the same, you know. So it's the same here with this. I'm going to stack these over each other so I actually have more room when it comes to making the full map, because it's not they can be close, they don't have to be completely overlapped, because the actual wooden texture that I'm going to apply in Photoshop will be a little bit wider than both of these, so it'll look fine. And this is the cushion, so I'm going to move this here and move these down here, sorry. So that's kind of neat, and I'm going to move them all back into the map. I'm going to grab this corner, which is scale, and I'm going to hold control, which means that it's a uniform scale as opposed to being able to warp it. Just control Z that. I can actually do a uniform scale down to whatever size I want. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller at the minute, and I'm going to move it off to one side of the map, because this is not the only thing that's going to be in the map. The entire chair is going to be on this map, and I'll show you how to do that in the next part. So what we'll do from here, we'll just shut this down, turn this off, and go back to the full model on hide all. The next thing I'm going to do is select the next piece and unwrap that. So once you have all of it done, we'll come back and put it all together.